This is about to be so much fun. Okay. Well, first, I think it's so amazing that there's just something for people in making that tell stories. I actually didn't know this existed. This is awesome. I'm very glad about this. You know what? I'm gonna leave it open. So, the story I would like to talk about today is how I got into reading. Okay. So, I graduated from Mercer like 2 years ago. But this takes place really around like my junior year. I was walking on the quad, and I remember thinking to myself how much I hated school. Just hated it so much. I hated everything that my professors would assigning to me. I hated how much time I felt like it took away from me. And I thought to myself, I don't think it's supposed to be like this. I think school's supposed to be alright, you know? You're supposed to be building yourself as a person, accumulating knowledge, being a more well-rounded individual. I wasn't feeling that. I was really in school, I'm not gonna lie, I was majoring in football for the most part. When I went to college, I was going to the league. That was it. I was going to the NFL, and I was taking classes. It was like a formality, right? But I was thinking to myself when I was walking on the quad and my knees was hurting and my ankles they just felt like they weren't ankling right. I thought to myself, yo, reading used to be illegal for black people. Why is that? There gotta be something with that, right? And the idea kept turning over in my head and turning over in my head. And I used to go out. My dad lives in Inglewood, California. I used to go and stay with him when I was like 12 or 13. I used to go in the summer times. And my dad would always make me pick up a book and read it. But I didn't like the fact that he made me do it. And me, I'm like mentally rebellious. So, you know, I wasn't strong enough to stop him from whooping me. So I had to do it. But I did it on my terms. So he would make me read something, but he'd say, well, what'd you just read? I said, well, you told me to read, not comprehend it. So I made sure I didn't keep it in my mind. That was a win in my head. But there was one book that I didn't hate, because I made it a point to hate everything he gave me. And that one book was called The Gunslinger by Stephen King, right? It was okay when I read it. And I thought, you know what? Let me go back to that. So I picked the book up again, but with this new intention, it was fantastic. It took me to a whole nother place. It took me to an entirely different environment. And I thought to myself, now why don't the books that they assign me in school feel like this? Right? So now that my mind was open, I don't know, it's not there anymore. There used to be a blue telephone booth somewhere off College Street, I think. And me, I just like stuff like that. I've never been in a telephone booth before. I'm 25. So I thought, well, I better get in a telephone booth. So I parked over there, but you couldn't open the door. But it was actually a public library, right? It had shelves on it. So I picked up another book. It was one book in there that wasn't like dilapidated, that wasn't just, broken. And it was called City of Thieves by David Benioff. Read that as well. One of the most action-packed things I've ever read in my life. I said, yo, this is fantastic. Why has this always sucked before? I thought I was so crazy, but then I started going back, down memory lane. And then I thought about school as a whole, and I realized they always said reading was fundamental, but they never actually told me why I should be reading. No one did. No one said, Austin, you read for this specific purpose, this purpose, this purpose, this purpose. They told me read or else. That was it. My mother, wonderful lady, great person. If she was here, she's like 5'5", but her energy, like her soul, filled up a room. And her, being a single mom, she kind of had to have that authority because, I'm a pretty big guy. I was a big kid. She knew I was going to be a big guy, so she couldn't play around with me. I understand. But she would come to the parent-teacher conferences with the energy of 1,000 suns. And she would come to each individual teacher's office and say, call me if there's a problem. And everybody knew what that meant. Everyone knew what it meant. But this caused a distrust for me and my teachers, because if they deemed something that I did to be wrong, they would take out that red pen of death and they'd write in my planner. And when I showed that to my mom, there would be some pain involved, right? And I thought to myself, well, all I need to do is get through school to be safe, because school was really my biggest threat growing up. I realized it was more fear-based than encouragement. It was more, in first grade, when it was time to go to second, they said, well, y'all was doing all that playing this year, but second grade, they ain't gonna play with you. Fifth grade to sixth grade, elementary to middle school, they said, oh, y'all thought middle school was fun and games, but, that next level, it's not gonna play with you. High school to college, it's all fear-based, I realized. But then I started thinking about it in totality, and really, I understood, because I really didn't read any of the books when I was in school. Like, I got my master's degree in 2020. I didn't read. I'm just a pretty good talker. I finessed all of it. Really, I just talked my way through it. But when you really think about it, school is a book club and a social club. You go to school, they say, hey, did you read the book? You say yes. They say, prove it. Midterm. They say, hey, did you read the entire book? You say yes. They say, okay. Final exam. Right? That's it in a nutshell. You talk to people that are supposed to be working towards things, just to simplify it. But then to simplify it even more, I realized it's 2022 now. There's no such thing as an original problem. No problem that any of us have here is the first of its kind. It's new to us. There's no such thing as new. Has anybody in here heard Way Too Sexy by Drake? Did y'all hear it in Shrek? The song was made in the 70s. They just take something that people haven't, that people don't remember, and they bring it back. That's the whole game, right? So now I'm realizing, okay, if you have a problem, you can just find a book for it and then steal someone else's solution. We don't need to make up new solutions to old problems. They've already been solved. No one explained it to me like that. Nobody said it. If somebody would have sat 10-year-old me down and said it like that, this thing would have been totally different. It would have been totally different. But basically, my name is Austin Sanders. I run a podcast called Polyanonymous Podcast. Big word, just take anonymous, take the A-N off, put poly, Polyanonymous Podcast, and I just talk about books and the takeaways I get from them. Thank you.
Good job,